Hello, Scrufftards! Welcome to the War Zone. I'm Scruffy, and this is Scruffy Tales. Yeah, we're gonna take a look at Kursk. Fact of the matter is, Russia has made some important gains at two locations, geolocated. We know they have crossed the river Loknya and the river Psel, and this puts them in a good position to push on towards Ukrainian logistical routes. Very crucial if Russia can pull that off and continue those advances. Ukraine still has time to counter them and address them. We'll see if Ukraine can pull that off. Ukraine has tried to address the fact that Russia is in Shakhterkoppe with a mechanized assault. We'll see if future updates indicate that that was a success. So far, the mappers seem to show that Russia has instead advanced southward instead of falling back. And also, where we saw Ukraine making that big push a week or two ago, where they took Russia by surprise, Russia has pushed Ukraine back somewhat in that area. So we're going to take a look at all of it in this video. And yeah, also towards the end, there may be some audio issues, so turn the volume down, because apparently when I show maps the volume goes down for some of you. So I tried to figure out how to solve that, and the last bit in the video that might actually go a bit overboard with the volume, so be prepared. I'll warn you before that happens, but just keep it in mind. Okay, moving on. Okay, so we're starting off here with the ISW map and a Russian claim. This is a claim, nothing else, and as you can see, it concerns this push into Ukraine by Russia coming down from the Snagost River here, moving across wide open fields and crossing these fields into Ukraine towards the small town and village of Basivka. And if this is true, it puts Russia right on top of this crucial highway leading all the way into Sudzha. This is the main logistical route for Ukraine that supports the entire operation. Now, this is a Russian claim. It has not been confirmed. We don't have, no other mapper is showing us this. And we have no geolocated destroyed vehicles or anything of the kind in this area here of advance, claimed advance. And the thing is with Russian claims, kind of like 50-50. Sometimes they're true, and sometimes they're complete bullshit, and sometimes they give away in advance the Russian objectives. We saw it down at Avdiivka. Hang on, I'll show you. Do we have a good map for this? I think we can use Andrew's map. Hang on, where is Avdiivka? Yeah, here, Avdiivka. And during the battle north of Avdiivka for Stepove, this is the town, remember, where you had two Bradleys fighting that one T-90. And Russia spent 6 months trying to push into this tiny village and failed. Now, we had Russian claims advancing north of this town for months and months, claims, and we saw nothing. But what we did see over time was a slow advance by Russia to the north of Stepove, following these claims that had been made months prior to the Russians actually making any headway. And we've seen this at a couple of instances with Russian claims, that the claims are true, as in they want to reach the end objective, but it takes time for them to reach that far. So you have three possibilities. Either it's complete bullshit, or it just takes a couple of days for the other mappers to catch on and update and show us the same thing as the ISW, and or the Russians have, for some reason, spilled the beans and told us what the end goal is. And so we're gonna take a look if Basivka might actually be the end goal, but maybe not through this approach as we're seeing here. If we take a look at my map, here you have Basivka, and what the claim is that Russia pushed down through these windbreaks. As you can see, you have numerous windbreaks here that, well, they were or are under Ukrainian control. So Russia would have to push through all of this and then cross these open fields and then actually push into Basivka, deal with valleys, lakes, and the Loknya River here. So I don't know. That said, Basivka might actually be the end goal here, because if we take a look at Kursk 73, we can see here that Russia has expanded their control around Shakhterkoppe, moving south rather than east, and we have some Ukrainian vehicles destroyed to the south of Shakhterkoppe, and we also have a Russian vehicle destroyed over here. Is this an indication that Russia is trying to push from the north towards Basivka rather than across these fields? Who knows? But there is combat ongoing south of Shakhterkoppe. I'm leaning towards that these vehicles were destroyed in a Ukrainian push towards Shakhterkoppe. Ukraine is trying to push north into town. But like I said, Russia is expanding southward. This could maybe indicate that Russia is trying to push down south along the river to Novenke, to Basivka, to threaten the vital supply route. But anyway, that's the claim, at least, that Russia has pushed across this way, across these fields, and are in Basivka. Make of that what you will. Right, so the thing, continuing with the Kursk here, the thing is, Russia is on a bit of a roll. It has to be said. Like I pointed out, they have gained control of windbreaks here that used to be under Ukrainian control. They've pushed south along the river Loknya here, securing the town, and they are in control of Shakhterkoppe as a whole. And up here, continuous assaults aimed at Viktorovka and Nikolsky. It seems as if Ukraine is holding the line up here, but Russia is continuously assaulting across these big open fields here. But more importantly, interestingly, is this. Cherkasskaya Konopelka. This is where Ukraine a week or so ago came down and took Cherkasskaya Konopelka, then moved into Basivka and what have you, right? Here you can see these are Russian units geolocated on the 22nd. So at the time of recording, 2 days ago. And if we move over to the Ukrainian control map, we can see here, this is the 22nd and that is the 22nd, those units, and this dot here, 22nd as well. So Russia and that one, 22nd as well, Russian infantry. So Russia has moved into Basivka and they are now pushing into Cherkasskaya Konopelka, countering the Ukrainian push. I don't know what happened there. Countering the Ukrainian push into Cherkasskaya Konopelka, and they are at the moment pushing Ukraine back from the previously held Ukrainian locations. And also, if we move down here, south of this is contested according to Ukraine control map, but no dots, no confirmed Russian presence in Kurilovka. However, down here, this is Russians attacked by a Ukrainian airstrike in this compound here, and on that was on the 19th, a couple of days ago, and this is further back still. On the 6th, so at the beginning of the month, and here we have on the 9th as well. So you can see Russia, they are moving in this part of the river, And all of a sudden, Ukraine launches an airstrike at this compound. Quite evidently, we have Russians across the river Psel here south of Kurilovka. So all in all, we have Russian gains at some very crucial locations. Here we have Russia moved down, secured Sverdlikovo, taken over the windbreaks over here. Ukraine has been trying to come up from Novenke, and it is when they've been trying to cross these fields here, when they have been destroyed. I'm thinking Ukraine is trying to push up to contest Sverdlikovo, because like I've said, from Sverdlikovo you can move down this highway towards this big logistical route right here. Wouldn't surprise me if Russia tries to push out from Sverdlikovo towards Lebedevka eventually, because you have another bridge over here, and they might actually be pushing south through Novenke with the end goal of reaching Basivka eventually, and from Basivka being able to threaten the supply route. Because here, I mean, you have a lot of cover here. This is good terrain to move through. I mean, out here, open ground, infantry is dead, and vehicles will be hunted down by drones. So here, along the Loknya River, a lot of cover available as you're moving south and towards Basivka. And if you reach this far, then you can disrupt the logistics moving in from Sumy way down here, that comes all the way up to Sudzha. So it's not strange that Ukraine wants to push in with heavy armor to try and reclaim Sverdlikovo. This gives Russia a lot of options. Like I said, Lebedevka, moving down here to secure the windbreaks here and the valley and lakes, or continuing south towards Basivka. Let's see, and here we have Cherkasskaya, Konopelka. Ukraine had the entirety of the town. They were down here at Fanasevka. They were all the way out here to these windbreaks. Now Russia has reclaimed Fanasevka. If they're attacking Cherkasskaya, Konopelka, they are in control of Fanasevka. And they have also pushed out this way around the lake in this valley here. And they are in the woods and southern parts of the town of Cherkasskaya, Konopelka. So Ukraine is being pushed back from previously held positions after that big push into Cherkasskaya, Konopelka. They were unable to secure these locations and isolate the Russians here north of the river Psel. And Russia is currently slowly regaining lost ground. At the same time, Ukraine bombs this compound, clearly a base of operations for the Russians. My guess is that, I mean, if you take a look, wide open territory here, Russia probably moved along here where you have cover into this farm and crossed the river somewhere here, and then made it across and established a presence, set up base of operations in this compound here in this village where they could store supplies, ammunition, set up command posts and what have you in the basements or wherever. And Ukraine realized this was going on and therefore launched an airstrike at this crucial location. But we have Russians across the Psel, and if they can begin or continue pushing people across here, they can move up towards the vital supply line as well. As you can see, I've highlighted some options for Ukraine beyond this highway, but it's not entirely great. You can see here, this is a dirt track. I mean, take a look at this. You want to drive hundreds and hundreds of trucks and armored vehicles along this muddy road. It's gonna get bogged down quickly. In Russia, it does look like we have paved roads, but you need to reach these roads from Ukraine first. So, and same thing goes here. You don't have all that great roads here, dirt tracks as well, coming in from Sapsilia to Gornal. So Ukraine, they have options. But, I mean, these roads are not suitable for the amount of trucks and vehicles and armored vehicles that will be moving into Kursk to support the combat and the war effort. So it comes down to, if Ukraine loses this highway, it's going to reduce their combat effectiveness all along the point of contact, without a doubt. And Russia has already moved in and cut the supplies from Guevo north. So now Ukraine is stuck with moving up this way. So you essentially have 1 and 2 supply lines that they can rely on. And Russia will probably continue moving west and cutting these supply lines, trying to come in from the north towards the supply line as well. So, yes, Ukraine is, wreaking havoc on Russian advances up here, without a doubt. But I mean, is this a distraction? It kind of feels like it, because Russia is advancing here, where they can begin to threaten the supply line here, and they have crossed the river here, and they can begin to maneuver westward to cut even more supply lines. So Russia, having crossed the river Loknya at Shakhterkoppe and crossed the river Psel south of Kurilovka, super crucial. That could eventually, in the end, spell certain doom for the entire Kursk operation. And Ukraine needs to address this. Losing ground here, I mean, okay, so Ukraine loses ground here. Losing ground here, okay. What does that matter? As long as they stop Russia from pushing in through Shakhterkoppe and Kurilovka to cut all the supply lines. But I mean, yeah, I feel as if Russia, why would Russia not step things up now that they have crossed the Psel River and the Loknya River? Why won't they just send everything they have to push further and further in this way and further in this way, right? At the same time launching big assaults up here, tying up Ukrainian forces, or forcing them to withdraw if they have to reinforce down here, and then this big assault up here gains momentum because they are weakened up here as they are reinforcing the south. I don't know, it's I mean, it was only a matter of time before Russia reclaimed Kursk, it has to be said. There was just no way in hell that Ukraine could hold on to Kursk indefinitely. It was a matter of time. I've talked about this before, the 3 objectives of Sudzha, Koronevo, and Glushkovo. And I mean, Russia has struggled for how long, pushing Ukraine out of Kursk, and Ukraine has only Sudzha. Imagine if they had taken Koronevo as well and could have fortified it along with Glushkovo, then this battle here would have been ongoing for how many years? Unfortunately, Ukraine did not manage to push out to Koronevo, and it's only been a matter of time since then. And here we are. Russia is close to beginning to cut these supply lines. What are they? From down here, it's like 10 kilometers up to Gogolevka and the supply line. And from Shakhterkoppe, it's something like 8 kilometers to the supply line. It's, yeah, we'll see. Maybe Ukraine has an ace up their sleeve. Maybe they can push through here out of Novenke and reclaim Shakhterkoppe. But I don't see why Russia would not throw everything they have into the battles at Shakhterkoppe and Kurilovka and secure these crossing points and begin the pushes towards these crucial supply lines, and either cut off and isolate all of the Ukrainians within Russia, or force the Ukrainians to fall back as they are no longer capable of supporting the campaign in the long run. Okay, next bit. Might be a bit too much on the volume here. I might have cranked it up a bit too much. I don't know. It sounded weird as hell when I listened into it to double check if it worked or not. But yeah, it is what it is. be ready for some weird, potentially very loud audio. So yeah, be ready with the volume. Anyway, moving on. And by God, I almost forgot to show you some stuff on Andrew Perpetua's map. This is from the 18th, 19th. Take a look. Here you have the Ukrainian airstrike that we were talking about a couple of days ago at this point. Look at the Russian strikes surrounding this area. So, I mean, the Russians are trying to soften up the Ukrainians in this area quite obviously. Moving forward to the 20th, you can see where the Russians are moving in here. The Ukrainians are trying to counter Russian presence in the surrounding Shakhterkoppe, Konopelka. Take a look, 22nd, right? Boom, 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 boom. The Russians are striking heavily the Ukrainians down here around Krylovka, and so they are here softening up the Ukrainians, preparing for a push, quite obviously. And then we have on the 23rd and no update for the 24th. We can also see here how Andrew, here you have Russia taking out all the Ukrainian vehicles south of Sverdlikovo. And what this is on the 20th, when he updates that Ukraine is basically in control of the entirety of Sverdlikovo, even east of the river Loknya here. Within the river barrier. Let's see if I can show you. I've talked about this multiple times. The river system here, that is the protective barrier that should be the last line of defense, defending the supply routes leading in from Ukraine to Sudzha. Here, Russia has crossed the river, and down here they have clearly Russian presence. And at that compound, and Russia is attacking Ukrainian locations all over the place over here. Very concerning, these two locations, if you ask me. And it's a shame that Ukraine is currently losing ground over here, unfortunately, but it is what it is. Meanwhile, you can see a lot of action going on in the north. Ukraine keeps fighting back as Russia is trying to push out towards the Malaya Loknya River. But for me, the two important locations, it's here where Russia is well and truly across the river, and down here where they are currently pushing across. Right, so sorry for that last bit, because I was trying to figure out, okay, how can I improve the sound on the map sections when I do an ordinary PowerPoint slide sound. The audio appears to be fine for most people, but then for some people, when I do the maps, it just the volume just drops. So I'm trying to figure out how can I improve it. May or may not have succeeded. So yeah, so I'll continue to play around and see if I can find a good middle ground there. But that's it. Yeah, I mean, Ukraine, they're holding on. This is not crash and burn at the moment, but if Russia, why wouldn't Russia apply maximum amount of pressure at these two locations where they have crossed the river Loknya and the river Psel, when they're so close to reaching these logistical routes and cutting off supplies to the Ukrainians further north in Kursk along the contact line, right? And Ukraine needs to address it. It's going to demand resources, which will weaken the other areas along the front line in Kursk. And I guess that is why Russia is making these big pushes up north, applying pressure to Ukraine while threatening to coming behind them. It's a dangerous situation at the moment in Kursk. It is. Even if Ukraine won't leave tomorrow, you never know what the situation will be like in a week, right? Say that Russia makes another one of these big pushes that we've seen happen in Kursk, both made by Ukraine and Russia, where you drive fast as hell along one of the roads, pierce through the perimeter, and deploy troops behind the enemy and force them to fall back. Classic mechanized warfare. We've seen it on numerous occasions in Kursk. Russia may actually try and pull that off again. and in the south where the train reached the logistical routes, and then you have a very difficult situation for Ukraine. So we'll see. I mean, it's not over. Ukraine can still address these two situations and maintain a functional front line in Kursk. Anyway, I'm rambling. Anyway, that's gonna have to be it. As always, go på marsch, Ukraine, and give them hell.